Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone. Today we are discussing an important topic, exploring the concept of mindset, fixed versus growth. Our mindset influences how we learn, face challenges, and achieve success. Joining us is Maya, who will share insights on this fascinating subject. Welcome, Maya.
Walaikum assalam. Thanks for having me back. I love this topic because it's basically the secret sauce for how we actually evolve as people. I'm ready when you are.
Maya, what is the meaning of mindset and why is it important in our daily lives?
At its simplest, your mindset is the set of beliefs you hold about your own abilities and potential. It's essentially the lens through which you see every single thing that happens to you. If you believe your intelligence or talents are just things you're born with and can't be changed, that's a fixed mindset. But if you believe you can develop those abilities through hard work, curiosity, and learning from mistakes, that's a growth mindset. It's so important because it determines whether a challenge feels like a wall you've hit or a little bit of a puzzle to solve.
Can you explain the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset?
Sure. Think of it like this: someone with a fixed mindset believes their deck is dealt at birth. If they fail at something, they take it as a sign that they're just not good at it, so they stop trying to avoid feeling incompetent. On the flip side, someone with a growth mindset sees their abilities as a muscle. If they struggle, they don't think, I'm not talented enough. They think, I haven't figured this out yet. The focus shifts from proving how smart you are to actually improving.
How
It's the
do
difference
these two
between you're asking how to actually make that shift.
how do
It
these two
starts with,
mindset affect the way people respond to challenges?
hmm, it changes everything about how you handle a setback. A person with a fixed mindset sees a challenge as a threat. If they fail, it's a verdict on their identity, like, I'm just not a math person or I'm not a natural leader. So they often avoid the hard stuff to keep their image intact. But for someone with a growth mindset, a challenge is just data. It's a sign that they need to try a different approach or put in more effort. They don't see the struggle as a sign of failure, but as the actual process of getting better. It's basically the difference between feeling defeated by a wall and seeing that wall as a climbing gym.
What are some common signs that someone may have a fixed mindset?
Usually it shows up in the way people talk to themselves. One big sign is a tendency to avoid challenges because the fear of failing and looking untalented is too high. You'll also see people get really defensive when they get constructive feedback, or they might feel threatened by other people's success instead of feeling inspired by it. Basically, anytime someone says, I'm just not good at this, they're operating from that fixed mindset.
What characteristics are usually seen in people with a growth mindset?
They're usually the people who are comfortably curious. They tend to embrace challenges and see effort as the path to mastery rather than a sign of weakness. You'll notice they're more likely to ask questions, try things they're bad at, and genuinely celebrate when other people succeed because it proves what's possible. They basically treat life like a giant experiment.
How does mindset influence learning and personal development?
It's the foundation for everything. If you think you've reached your ceiling, you stop climbing. That's where a fixed mindset kills growth. It creates a self imposed limit on what you can achieve. But with a growth mindset, learning becomes an active choice rather than a chore. You start seeking out the things that make you feel a bit out of your depth, because that's where the real development happens. It's basically the difference between trying to maintain a perfect image and actually being interested in your own evolution.
Why do some people fear making mistakes and how is this connected to mindset?
It usually comes down to the fear of what the mistake says about them. For someone in a fixed mindset, A mistake isn't just a wrong answer, it's a revelation. They feel like the mistake is proving they aren't smart or capable, so they start associating making mistakes with a loss of value. When that happens, the stakes feel way too high to keep trying, so they shut down to protect their ego. In a growth mindset, a mistake is just a bug in the system that needs a fix, not a flaw in the person.
How can adopting a growth mindset help improve confidence and resilience?
It takes the pressure off having to be perfect right away. When you stop seeing failure as a verdict on your worth, your confidence stops being fragile. It's no longer about am I good enough, but how can I get better? That shift makes you way more resilient because you don't get knocked down as hard by a setback. You just see it as a necessary part of the journey. It's basically turning your fear of failure into a curiosity about the process.
What role do parents and teachers play in shaping a child's mindset?
They're essentially the architects of a child's inner voice. Because kids are like sponges, they pick up on the subtle cues adults give them. If a parent or teacher constantly praises a child for being smart or gifted, it can actually accidentally push them into a fixed mindset because the child starts trying to protect that label instead of taking risks. But if they praise the effort, the strategy, or the persistence, like saying, I love how you didn't give up on that hard problem, they're teaching the child that the growth is the reward, not the innate talent.
How can
It's a huge
mindset
difference in how a
infect?
kid. I think you're asking if mindset can infect others, right? It's funny you put it that way because it really does spread. If you're in a workplace or a family where everyone operates from a fixed mindset, it can feel almost impossible to take a risk or suggest a new idea because the collective energy is about avoiding mistakes. But when you're around people with a growth mindset, it's contagious. You start feeling like it's okay to be a beginner again.
Can a person change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset?
Absolutely. It's not like a light switch you just flip, but more like a habit you build. You can actually rewire your brain to see things differently by consciously challenging those fixed thoughts when they pop up. It's basically a lifelong practice of choosing curiosity over the fear of being wrong.
What are some practical habits people can build to encourage a growth mindset?
One of the biggest things is the power of yet. Whenever you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, just add the word yet to the end of it. It completely changes the statement from a dead end to a path forward. Another good habit is to start a mistake log or just reflecting at the end of the day on what went wrong and what you learned from it, turning a fail into a lesson. And honestly, just putting yourself in beginner mode on purpose, like taking up a hobby you're naturally bad at, helps you get comfortable with the feeling of not knowing everything.
Finally, what message would you like to leave with our audience about embracing a growth mindset?
I'd say the biggest thing is to remember that your current state isn't your final destination. Most people spend so much time trying to prove they're already the finished product. But the real magic happens when you're okay with being a work in progress. Just give yourself permission to be bad at something until you're not. The world is way more interesting when you stop worrying about being perfect and start being curious about what you're actually capable of.
Thank you, Maya, for sharing your valuable insights on the concept of fixed and growth mindsets. Today's discussion highlighted how our beliefs about learning and abilities can shape our success, relationships, and personal growth. We hope our audience found this conversation inspiring and helpful. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time with another meaningful discussion. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, it was a pleasure being part of the conversation. See you next time. I'm still here if you need anything else.